Guys, what's going on? I'm back up here, and this time I'm going to be doing my Q&A follow-up video that I promised. Going to be responding to your questions that you submitted last time. So thank you to all of you guys who participated in the channel Q&A. And without further ado, let's get started with your Q&A questions. First question here is from my friend Jeff. Jeff asks, what do you think of Kurt Angle as General Manager of Raw? It's a great choice for General Manager of Raw. Simply having Kurt be, as of now, the lone authority figure without Stephanie being there dictating her every demands has been great. The only thing that I'm worried about is what happens once Stephanie comes back. Are we going to see the same thing that we saw happen with Mick Foley happen to Kurt Angle? I certainly hope not. But so far, I like the job that they have done using Kurt Angle as General Manager of Raw. It definitely brings a breath of fresh air to the show. And Jeff also asks here, do you think WWE will allow the Hardys to use their broken gimmick? Yes, I think in due time we will see the Hardys transition. If not both Hardys, then I definitely think at least Matt Hardy. I could definitely see Matt continuing to use the broken gimmick and Jeff going off on a singles career, as Jeff Hardy. That's how I saw things going when I envisioned the Hardys coming in, and I think that's how we'll see things play out. Once they lose the tag team titles, I think it'll only be a matter of time before Matt Hardy becomes broken, and it'll be wonderful because we will be able to delete. So, yeah, I look forward to the Hardys becoming broken. Thank you for your questions, Jeff. Move on to my friend, the Club of the Man 1993. First question here, who were you hoping would have switched brands in the Superstar Shakeup that did not move? That's a good question. Somebody was hoping that would. A name that comes to mind. Put me on the spot here. I was hoping for Anderson and Gallows to go to SmackDown. I just felt like them on Raw, they're just going to continue to go nowhere. I felt they would have benefited from a shakeup, going to a different brand, and establishing themselves. Maybe American Alpha, while they have been tag team champions on SmackDown. I just felt like they haven't been utilized to their full potential. So maybe shift them to the Raw brand, give them a fresh set of opponents, new division to look forward to. Somebody else that I was hoping to switch brands. I was surprised that I didn't want to see Bray Wyatt go to SmackDown or from Raw to SmackDown. I felt he would have benefited more so from remaining on SmackDown instead of being shifted to Raw. I'm worried on Raw that he will be lost in the shuffle. I was really hoping for a big name from Raw to move over, like a Seth Rollins or a Finn Balor. Didn't get one of those. So yeah, those would be the names off the top of my head that I was surprised did not move. He also asks, who else can you see being either Raw or SmackDown Live General Manager? A couple names come to mind for both shows. I could see Sting down the line, possibly being a General Manager. Let's see, who else? Off the top of my head, good general managers for SmackDown or Raw. Eric Bischoff, if they ever wanted to bring him back, I thought he was one of the best GMs in Raw history, so it'd be fun to see Eazy-E back. Hulk Hogan, if they could ever agree to work with each other again. I think eventually we will see Hulk Hogan return, but not for the time being. General manager-wise, I think Shawn Michaels would make a great general manager. Steve Austin. Yeah, those would be the list of names that come off the top of my head. Besides Sting, who is someone else you wish would have had the chance to wrestle The Undertaker? At a WrestleMania, I would have liked to have seen John Cena versus The Undertaker. And it would have been nice if we would have gotten that match this year at WrestleMania instead of Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker. Another name that comes to mind would be Finn Balor. I think that would have been an interesting matchup, the Demon versus the Dead Man. Who's somebody else that The Undertaker has never, we never would have seen besides Sting, Cena, Balor. I even think Strowman versus The Undertaker. They teased it this year, got a great reaction from the crowd. It would have been interesting. I would have liked to have seen that matchup. And he also asks here, what do you think was the biggest missed opportunity the WWE had to turn Roman Reigns heel? The biggest missed opportunity was beating The Undertaker and at WrestleMania this year. You come off that raucous crowd and the night after the post-WrestleMania Raw, that would have been the time to do it. They didn't do it, and they continued to put their foot in their mouth. So I go with that moment right there. To me, it just screams like this is the time to do it. And they didn't. So that was their call. And who do you pick to win the Stanley Cup? If you haven't guessed right now, it's right here. The reigning, defending, undisputed Stanley Cup champions. I'm picking my Pittsburgh Penguins to repeat. I got a huge task ahead of them. Big game 4 tonight. They're out with Letang. They don't have Sid. It's going to be really tough, but I think the Pens will be able to rally and beat the Capitals tonight and win this series and move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm still going with my Pittsburgh Penguins. Thank you for the questions, Mike. We'll go next to TN Couponer. Thank you for your questions. What inspired you to create your channel? Just watching, videos from people like Delexman and Solomonster and, other YouTubers out there. Just seeing the way that they were able to interact with wrestling fans. It's really just about the interaction that I've been able to have with you guys here on YouTube. That is the main reason why I wanted to start a wrestling channel, was just to experience this interaction and, create a channel where we can have a free flow of ideas and just come on here as wrestling fans, state our opinions, whether we agree or disagree, and at the end of the day, be able to shake hands. So that is why I started this channel. What is your favorite snack? Favorite snack would be pretzels. I love nothing like some beer and pretzels. I could shout out on a whole bag of pretzels. That's how good they are. They can't be dry. I like a decent amount of salt, but not too much salt on my pretzels. Which 4 current wrestlers would you use to create your stable? It'd be 4. Roman Reigns, Usos, Samoa Joe. Samoan Dynasty stable. Or whatever name you want to come up with, that's just something off the top of my head. I think that as a heel Samoan ass-kicking, just no-nonsense group, I think that'd be pretty badass. Best experience meeting a wrestler? Had to be Daniel Bryan. Went down in the snowstorm to the convention center and waited in a long, long line with my friend Mike, and to finally be able to meet him, one of my favorite wrestlers of all times. That was an experience I'll never forget. And I did upload a video about that, which you can watch on this channel. So that is up there in my content. Just search it, Meeting Daniel Bryan at the World of Wheels convention. It was a great experience. Had him sign the book he wrote. Great book, Journey to the Main Event of WrestleMania. So thank you for your questions, TN Couponer. Ultra to ask, what's your favorite WWE pay-per-view? WrestleMania. The be-all, end-all. There is nothing like the Super Bowl of professional wrestling. I look forward to it every year, and it is the most exciting time of the year for us as wrestling fans. Thank you for your question. CyberSkull95 asks, if Roman Reigns remains as a face, what would make you cheer for him and want to see him win? Have him cut unscripted promos, speak from the heart, just allow him to be himself without putting the script in front of him that isn't him. That doesn't help him. 2, book him as a no-nonsense, badass, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do, even if you guys boo me, I don't care. I'm going out there to kick ass and take names. If you would have booked him that way from the start and not force-fed him these terrible lines to read, that would have helped him a lot. That really would have. And I don't think we'd be in this situation where we're at now. So that would make me cheer him. It's just the dialogue they give him. He's gotten better on his promos. I'm not going to completely crap on him. But, again, just... And they need to do this for the rest of the talent. It's not just Roman. But, yeah, that'd be one way for me to cheer him. Who do you think is the most underutilized wrestler on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT? One per brand. It's a very good question. On Raw, I'd have to go with Cesaro. Always felt like he's been very underutilized. On SmackDown, Luke Harper. And somebody on NXT. As of now, Roderick Strong. He hasn't been really showcased that much, although I did like the video package that they did for him, telling him about his life journey. So I thought that was very good. So hopefully they will start to utilize him. I like Roderick Strong. But I want to get to know more about his character, and I like what they've done so far in that Life's Journey video package. I thought that was very well done. So those would be my 3 picks. He said he would go with Curtis Axel for Raw, Kane for SmackDown, although I know why he hasn't been used, and Andrade Cien Almas. Good picks there, and thank you for your questions. Questions from my friend Robbie1 Kenobi. Robbie, thank you for your questions. Same question he asked Mike in his Q&A. If I wanted to add a horsewoman to our team, who would you prefer? Bayley, Sasha Banks, Lana, Becky Lynch, Liv Morgan, Ember Moon, or Alexa Bliss? A lot of great picks there, but I got to go with Alexa Bliss. She is gorgeous, and she's just killing it right now as Raw Women's Champion. So I got to go with the new Raw Women's Champion. 2. What are 5 matches are you proud to say made you the wrestling fan you are today? 5 matches that made me into the wrestling fan that I am today. They'd have to be, in no particular order, Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, The Rock versus John Cena, CM Punk versus The Undertaker, and Daniel Bryan versus Bray Wyatt. In no particular order, those matches had a very influential part of me becoming and morphing me into the wrestling fan that you see before you today. So yeah, good question. 4 or 3. What if the Shield and Bullet / Balor Club ever faced off in WWE? Would you like to see a traditional 6-man or 4-on-3 handicap match with both AJ Styles and Finn Balor as part of the club? I'd go with 6-man. I think it would just be Balor, the Balor Club versus the Shield. I think that would be the only way, really, to help Anderson and Gallus at this point, is link them up with Balor. Styles remains on SmackDown, but with everybody on Raw, you could do that showdown at SummerSlam if you want to. I mean, there's plenty of time to build to it. So, hell yeah, I'd love to see Shield versus the Balor Club. They've teased it. They certainly have teased it. Because of how soon they were called up to the main roster, do you think Apollo Crews and Dana Brooke can benefit from returning to NXT? If not, how would you book / repackage them? I wouldn't book / repackage them. I would send them back down to NXT because you're right, they could benefit. Imagine if they were still on NXT up until this point, and then maybe we're just getting called up now. Maybe they'd be so much more along in their development. I just felt they rushed them up there, and they got lost in the shuffle, and they never really had anything for them, really, when they got called up. So if you never really had anything for them in line, a plan, why would you call them up in the first place? It's a clear lack of long-term planning, something which I brag on WWE for doing. If you don't have a plan in place, don't call them up. Let them take their time to allow them to develop and call guys up who are ready, like a Finn Balor, a Samoa Joe, etc. And his 5th question, if you could spend a few days at the Performance Center, which NXT superstars or main roster talent would you want to train with and ask advice for about maybe one day getting into the wrestling business? If I was at the Performance Center, it's a very good question. If I had to train with NXT superstars, a lot of good talent down there. A lot of really good talent. Probably train with Bobby Roode. Seth Rollins, his CrossFit background. I'll even say Roman Reigns. I'll go with Roman. I think in the gym seems like a pretty cool guy. Just the vibe outside of WWE, I mean, seems like a much cooler guy than he's scripted to appear as, come across. So I think Roman will be somebody cool to train with. Seth Rollins, like I said, with his CrossFit background, and I'll go with Bobby Roode from NXT. Thank you for your questions. We have BSP Wrestling Show, my friend Gene. Gene, thank you for your questions. First question, can you see Chris Jericho ever becoming a world champion again? Can I? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to happen? I think Jericho could have went on a run in this latest run with the Universal Championship, and I wouldn't have had a problem with it. But realistically, with him going away now, and I'm not sure his future's up in the air, I'd say no. But I'd love to see it. I'd love to see the championship run of Jericho. Do you prefer the Hardy Boys or the Broken Hardys? From what I've seen, I like both the Hardy Boys and the Broken Hardys. I haven't seen much of their broken work due to it being in TNA, but I've caught glimpses of it. And if I had to pick, I'd go with the broken gimmick, particularly for Matt. It just completely reinvigorated his career, and hopefully we see it soon in WWE. Story question: are the Penguins winning the Stanley Cup this year? It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough with Sid being down with the concussion, Letang being out, Murray hurt. But I hope they'll be able to pull it off. Number 4, who are your top 3 favorite YouTubers? I got to go with Delexman. 3 other YouTubers. It's tough because there's a lot of good talent out there here on YouTube. That's very tough. Oh, man. Very, very tough question. Well, I gotta show love for my 4 horsemen, so, BSP Wrestling Show, Robbie One Kenobi, The Club of the Man 1993, my friend Jack Southall, gotta show him some love, Nerd Coalition. Those would be some of my top favorite YouTubers out there. So it's tough for me to narrow it down to 3, so I gave you a little bit more than 3. Kind of cheating, but there you go. Thank you for your questions. Speaking of Jack Southall, Jack asks, what is your dream main event match you would like to see in the next 12 months? That's a good question. Next 12 months, I want to see AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, preferably at WrestleMania. Thank you for that question. Isaiah Webb asks, would you like to see WWE's cruiserweight wrestlers interact physically with the heavyweight wrestlers more often rather than the cruiserweights being restricted to only competing against one another? Yes, I do. He says, I believe this type of change would create some intriguing, fresh new matchups such as Cedric Alexander versus Seth Rollins, Akira Tozawa versus Nakamura, Neville versus Balor, Austin Aries versus KO, Gran Metalik versus AJ Styles. It's been done in the past with guys like Mysterio, Tajiri, etc., wrestling heavyweights such as Lesnar, Benoit, Big Show, Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, and John Cena. So I do not see why it would not work today. Yes, I hope that's something we do see. You know, I understand there's a division that you have, and you kind of want to keep these guys all within the same, 205 weight limit, whatever. But and I think that would, create more fresh, intriguing matchups. It would help, keep the roster from becoming too stale, give these guys opportunities against, some of the bigger names out there. And yeah, I think it would just freshen things up, and I'd be all for it. It's certainly something that I'm not against, and hopefully it's something that WWE considers down the line. Do I see them doing it soon? No, but I hope they will eventually do something like that because it will open things up and, like I said, keep things fresher and, give the cruiserweights an opportunity to prove themselves against some of the bigger name stars on the roster. So we'll see if WWE does that. And thank you for your question. Very good question there. And let me see, I got one more question here. I just want to make sure I get to it. From my friend on Twitter, Broken Francisco. Thank you for the question. How long do you think this Jinder Mahal main event push will last? That depends on how well it goes. I think it could last up until Backlash. See how he does at Backlash. If he does well and proves himself in there against Randy Orton, they have a good competitive match. It could continue on. If it doesn't, I could see it coming to a halt there. So, yeah. We'll see how far Jinder goes. I'm willing to give him a chance. even though we've been conditioned that this guy's a loser and because of the booking he's nothing more than a body to be thrown around, perhaps he can rise above that and prove me and everybody else that said stuff about him wrong. We'll see. Like I said, I'm always willing to give people a chance. So Backlash will be the test to see how far this Jinder Mahal push will go. So guys, that is it. That concludes this Q&A video, session number 5. Follow-up, I want to say thank you to all who submitted your questions and for continuing to support this channel with your loyalty, and your love. I want to send my love and support back your way. Thank you for supporting me and helping this channel grow and continue to be where it's at. So that is it for this video. Thank you for tuning in. I will be back up here hopefully tomorrow to give you my Extreme Rules match card prediction video. So be on the lookout for that. So that is it, guys. Thanks for watching. Until then, take care and let's go Pens. See you guys.